It's the Adrian Rivers Radio Show. Let's talk live. Let's talk. Let's talk live.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Listen, we're having a conversation with Omega and Kathryn. Again, guys, thank y'all so much for talking with us today. You guys have been amazing, giving great information. I just want to take this show, being 100 days away from election, to highlight a couple different things. We've already talked a little bit about voting and why it's so important to get out and vote, and why these guys have decided that, you know, whatever is happening it's not important enough to make me not use and exercise my right. And I definitely want to highlight a right. Now, guys, we got to talk a little bit more in detail about, you know, why this is such a critical time for us. Very. You know, we are not only in a pandemic, we're in an epidemic. Right. We are in, literally with racism and police brutality and, you know, black folks being killed by the hands of police and leaders not standing up and not voicing, people that we've elected, and our civil rights leadership, they're dying out. You know, it's like everything is happening, you know, at the same time. Why is this moment so critical for us here in America?
Well, me personally, right now, being that it's the year 2020, this is the year where everything becomes clear. If you was blind, as the song say, I was blind, but now I see, this is the year where now God is allowing people to see what's really real.
That's right.
And it's a matter of us as a people, again, whether you're white or black, to bind together and say, you know what, you're just as much human as I am. Right. You know, being a Marine vet, sometimes I go, when I talk to different people, I tell them, you know, if I can put my life on the line to protect other people's freedoms, then why can I be afforded that same right here in America? And
I think you bring up a really good point, and I know Kathryn wants to jump in on this too. I know that you bring up a really good point, because as a black man, you're good enough to fight for America.
Exactly.
But as a black man, you're not good enough for America to fight for you.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that that's the disparity that we're seeing, and that we are recognizing that is here, and why you have those that are trying to muzzle what we're trying to do. Kathryn, why is this moment so critical for us?
Because we have a racist president in office. And I want everybody to let that sink in. He needs to go. He is incompetent in so many ways, and what we're living through now, talking about the pandemic and the crisis that we're in here in South Georgia, where we have cases growing every single day, is a result of incompetent leadership and so much more. My concern is, and I would say fear, is that if we do not vote Donald Trump out of office, and we have 4 more years of this madman, our democracy in this country will be unrecognizable. That's why it's so important to vote this year. And it's important, especially for black and brown folks to vote, because there are people who recognize how powerful your vote is, and they're trying to shut it down. And we were talking earlier about precinct closures and different ways that our votes are suppressed. When Brian Kemp was Secretary of State, he hired a consultant by the name of Mike Malone, who identified 11 counties that targeted for precinct closures. And if you take a look at the demographic in those 11 counties, with one exception, all of them had at least 30% voters of color or higher. It's no accident. They're closing precincts down in black and brown areas for a reason. And that's why all of us have to vote.
Yeah. I think that is imperative, because we're still really, we're talking about a lot of different things, but we're really trying to unwrap this whole idea of voter suppression. Because I'm starting to hear, people not believing that that the vote is being suppressed. But they must understand that, this has been something that has been in action, right? We're behind the curve. You know, it is possible. We're 100 days away right now. 100 days away from the most critical time in my lifetime.
Right.
And we are starting to organize. We have time if we organize now.
That's right.
Can't wait.
But they've been organizing. Stop me if I'm wrong. They've been organizing up for years.
This is systemic. The voter suppression that we're seeing in Georgia is a carefully crafted strategy. It's not an accident. And this has been happening at least since Brian Kemp was elected. Was in office.
Exactly.
And while he's been elected too, I might add.
He's got voter suppression down to a T.
That's right.
And I honestly believe, I told someone the other day, if anybody has a degree in voter suppression, it is Brian Kemp.
Yeah.
I like that, Omega. Say that one more time.
If anybody has a degree in voter suppression, it is Brian Kemp.
And I think the thing that I'm so upset about, and we only have a minute, you know, it is there's this blatant disrespect to Georgians, period. He is a blatant disrespect to what we believe, what we stand on, what we know when the Pledge of Allegiance is stated. I mean, even with what we're seeing in leadership in regards to COVID, and I know getting into COVID is a whole nother discussion, but even with everything that we're seeing, that now is the time, you know, to get out and make things happen. Let's talk about everybody's role right now. Because I think that we have, and it's amazing, Omega, what you're doing with your organization. And Kathryn, the Campaign to Keep Guns Off Campus is an amazing organization. In my organization, when leaders meet, and we can have 50 organizations.
That's right.
And that's wonderful and great. But
Got to work together.
exactly.
Got to work together.
Exactly. We are tripping over each other as we're organizing.
Right.
You know, we're falling over each other, and while we're dealing and while we're doing that, we're dealing with something that's systemic. We got to take a break. We'll talk about systemic racism and what that looks like, and we will also talk about a little bit of what community members need to do. And we only have one more segment here, but we'll also try to get people to get into the census work a little bit. So we'll be right back here, guys. Enjoy the music. Let's talk live.